Once upon a time, a long time ago, when most stories begin, there was a kingdom far away, where most kingdoms are. In this kingdom, there lived a king with 3 daughters. Now, this king was a fairly ordinary man, sometimes wise, sometimes foolish. He loved his daughters, and made certain they wanted for nothing. One day, the king wanted to know how much his children loved him. He put the question to them. "My daughters, I crave to know how much you love me. Pray, tell." The first daughter to speak was his eldest. "Father, I love you more than gold or silver." The king was pleased that she loved him more than such valuable things, and smiled at her. The second daughter, his middle child, spoke next. "Father, I love you more than diamonds and pearls. More than rubies and emeralds, or any other gem." Again, the king was pleased to be loved more than such precious things. He looked to his third, and youngest, daughter. "Father, I love you more than salt." She spoke simply, quietly. "More than salt. More than salt." The king was displeased. He couldn't believe his daughter had compared him to something so common and coarse as salt. He was angry, thinking of all the gifts he'd lavished on her. Such was his rage that he banished her from the kingdom. She left without saying a word, simply carrying away a small box of salt in her pocket. The princess traveled to the next kingdom, where she worked as a shepherdess. Meanwhile, in her father's kingdom, something strange happened. As soon as the princess had crossed the border, all the salt began to disappear. At first, no one noticed. There was salt for their meat, salt for their broth, salt for their bread. Soon, though, the people realized that no new salt was coming into the kingdom. No matter how hard the caravans, ships, or gypsy traders tried, they could not bring salt beyond the border. After a while, the king fell ill. As he grew weaker, sicker, the royal physicians puzzled out what could be wrong. Finally, they decreed that the king needed salt, or he would perish. Until then, no one knew that salt was necessary for life. Tales of the king's plight reached beyond the borders, from town to town, and finally to a simple shepherdess hut. When the princess heard of her father's illness, she went to him. She carried nothing with her but the clothes she wore and her box of salt. For long days, she walked, until she reached the palace. She made her way to her father's room, where he slept fitfully, close to death. The princess kissed her father on his sunken cheek and sat beside him. She cut a piece of bread, buttered it, and sprinkled salt over it. She managed to sit him up and coax the bread into him. He slept again, and woke a short time later, a little stronger. The princess called for broth, sprinkled salt in it, and encouraged the king to eat. He regained his strength slowly, after that, until he was well. He wept and held his daughter close. "Daughter, can you forgive a foolish father?" "Of course, father. I love you." She meant it, too. From that moment on, salt flowed freely into the kingdom once more. The king never looked down on salt again, and he knew that his youngest daughter loved him best of all, for when she said, "I love you more than salt," she meant that she loved him more than that which gives life, which is a great love indeed.